But Amir Azaz looks at how a conspiracy theory could make its way into the halls of Congress after the election.
All right, while we're denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are a satanic pedophile ring and that you pedophile ring and that you pedophile ring and that you are the savior.
Whether or not you believe in the phenomenon of QAnon, all that you are seeing unfold on the stage of geopolitical history has been prophesied by QAnon. What is QAnon? Is it truth? Is it lies? Is it a hoax? Is it somewhere between the murky middle? On this episode of The Soul Trap, we talk about QAnon and what is to come.
The only verdict is vengeance.
What is QAnon? I can recall hearing a reporter asking the president to disavow QAnon, and then and only then did it really seem to come to my attention. I remember thinking, why? With all that is going on in the world, why would a reporter at a town hall take the time to try and get the president to disavow QAnon? Is QAnon real? How much of it is real? Can some of it be real and right and some of it not? Is it a take all or leave it all proposition, or are there certain aspects that are nothing more than urban legend, while indeed there are other aspects of it that are true? Deborah Franklin in The American Thinker writes a great article introducing the concepts and philosophy of QAnon. I'll try to hit a few highlights and allow you to decide for yourself. Is QAnon for real? Franklin writes, who is Q? What is Q? And perhaps most importantly, why is Q? Q and the ever-growing worldwide movement it's inspired have been the object of fascination, mockery, hatred, but surprisingly little serious analysis, she writes. Q first appeared in October 2017 on an anonymous online forum called 4chan, posting messages that implied top clearance knowledge of upcoming events. More than 3,000 messages later, Q has created a disturbing, multifaceted portrait of a global crime syndicate that operates with impunity. Q's followers in the QAnon community faithfully analyze every detail of Q's drops. The mainstream media has published hundreds of articles attacking Q as an insane right-wing conspiracy. In the meantime, Q's influence continues to spread. Protesters in Hong Kong, Iran, and France have held up Q signs and chanted Q quotes. As Q's predictions come true, they seem to lend retroactive credibility to the entire enterprise. Q's followers believe that Q is a military intelligence operation, the first of its kind, whose goal is to provide the public with secret information. Many Q followers think that Q team was founded by Admiral Michael Rogers, the former director of the National Security Agency and former commander of U.S. Cyber Command. Some suspect that Dan Scavino, White House director of social media, is part of the team, because the high quality of Q's writing has the luster of a communications expert. Here's the way it works. Q posts messages, also known as drops or crumbs, on an anonymous online forum, which are discussed, analyzed, and critiqued by the board's inhabitants. The forum has changed a few times after the massive online attacks. Hundreds of social media accounts then spread Q's latest posting to the worldwide followers, who share their research, their analysis, and interpretation of Q's latest information. The writer of the article states that she has compiled a list of Q's most famous catchphrases and tried to put them into context. The first is the concept of the Great Awakening. We are living, they claim, in a unique time in which ordinary citizens around the world are collaborating, understanding, trying to expose the corrupt system that rules us. The first phrase of the Great Awakening, and the first phase really, is a heightened awareness of the deep state. The second phase of the Great Awakening investigates the deep state's alliance with other powerful sectors: the media, Hollywood, charities, nonprofits, public schools, universities, religions, organizations, medical, science, financial institutions, you name it, they are connected. This phase can be painful as you discover that those we seem to trust most, in Q's phrase, are deceiving us. There is also the famous Q phrase, quote, "These people are sick." Perhaps the most difficult aspect of the Great Awakening is coming to terms with the depravity of our rulers, whom Q has called the cult. Jeffrey Epstein's story has helped to awaken people to some of the elite's crimes. The mysterious temple on Epstein's island hints at the possible future revelations that are frightening in their scope. That is, unless people happen to strangle themselves when the cameras turned off. Q followers believe that the cult engages in ritual practices that enshrine the shedding of blood and which prey on the innocence of children. The sickness in their soul thrives on brutality, war, terror. These disclosures will be tough for the public to take, Q states. In fact, Franklin writes, Q states that things are far broader in scope than we realize. They are bigger than you can imagine. The phrase Q uses is, quote, "expand your thinking." Q encourages us to reevaluate everything we think we know. The cult may date back to ancient times, and through its powerful families, it might have manipulated historical events in ways that we haven't even suspected. The cult may also possess advanced technology and medical cures that have not been released to the public. At least they're not released until we need them at warp speed.
It's called Operation Warp Speed. That means big and it means fast.
Warp drive, Mr. Scott.
One aspect that may be bigger than you can imagine is the unfathomable scale of theft from our national coffers, as funds for foreign aid and wars wind up in the cult's bank account. Is this real? Q seems to think so. Or has he simply, or she simply, or they simply tapped into our wildest imagination and desires for revenge and justice? On one hand, it is almost too good to believe. On the other hand, there have been some stunning revelations and some amazingly accurate observations and claims. Is QAnon real? Is there really a branch, an inner circle of the inner circle that is trying to get information out to those that believe? Is there really a Star Chamber elite that are trying to expose other Star Chamber elites? Or is this simply a hoax? However high-ended and however complicated, in the end, is it merely a hoax tapping in to the wishes of people who long for justice? Well, whether you think it's a hoax or not, Twitter does not think it is a hoax. Twitter hates them enough to close down 7,000 user accounts, which will affect more than 150,000 user accounts connected with QAnon. Why? What was it that bothered Twitter so very much? The crackdown. And think of a crackdown in the way that the word is used when we say China is cracking down on dissidents. Why would Twitter shut down these accounts? Andrea Widberg writes, what seems to have triggered the crackdown is a theory that circulated on Twitter claiming that model and uber leftist Chrissy Teigen had a connection with Jeffrey Epstein. The theory arose back in 2011 when she worked on a reality show called Toddlers and Tiaras. Teigen posted a sexually tinged and since deleted tweet about the little girls. Quote, "Seeing little girls do the splits half naked is just, I want to put myself in jail. Hashtag toddlers and tiaras." End quote. Does that sound normal to you? Antifa still has their Twitter accounts, but something about QAnon so disturbed Twitter that they had to close these accounts. They had to put a stop to it. Truthfully, as one writer says, when it comes to QAnon, I am an agnostic. I simply don't know how true it is and how deep the rabbit hole actually goes, but I do think I'm slowly but surely starting to get to the point I'm more concerned about how much food I have and how much ammo I have versus who gets elected. They all seem to be coming from the same cesspool regardless of the party. Whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or Tegan, there is something deeply perverse, something deeply sexual, something deeply wicked. So who knows? Maybe QAnon is the real deal in total. Maybe they are real in part. But whatever the case, they are certainly making someone in high places mad. And by high places, I'm not talking about the White House or Congress. I'm referring to the Vatican. But that is a podcast for another time. Oh, and speaking of the Vatican, do you really think that the Nine, yes, the Council of Nine, robed in black like Baalites of a bygone era, all in some way connected with the Vatican, are going to hear the case of Trump and the stolen election? If they do hear it, do you think that they're going to do anything about it, or do you think they're going to do what they want to do? Do you think that the stars have actually aligned, the stars figuratively and extraterrestrially, to usher in the closing chapters of the church and the dawn of the revelation? All food for thought. And speaking of food, QAnon and children, well, we'll stop there for now. No reason to really go down that rabbit hole. QAnon, is it real? Is it fake? Is it somewhere in between? Will we ever know?
This is Sparta!